Let's start with a new tool and bring in a polycube from the gizmo. Click on Delete Loops and rotate the cube a little bit. Unmask the top and side and move them in slightly. Then unmask the top and extrude it with the gizmo. Now we can add an edge loop in and unmask the top two polys to extrude. Click the unmasked center icon and scale it up in the Y-axis. Continue to scale and extrude out the model. Let's rotate to the top view and scale it in the Z-axis. Unmask the face at the end and Alt-move the gizmo to reposition the pivot. Now we can rotate and move to match the reference. Add an edge loop in the middle and move the point in a little bit with infinite depth. Unmask the back three faces and scale them up in the Y-axis. Try to match the reference by masking out one edge loop at a time while scaling. Unmask the back poly and extrude it out a tad. This will help create the sharp angle change. Let's unmask the rear again and extrude it straight back. Then try to line up the 2 points. We are going to clip curve the back. Just make sure it's perfectly straight. And then we need to move some points and do some more scaling to better match the base of the reference. Because the reference is showing the final part, we have to use our imagination to envision what this part would look like in its most basic form. For me, I like to keep things simple, so when I tackle hard surface modeling, it's very similar to the 3-stage organic approach of primary, secondary, and tertiary. I like to start out with the primary shapes, which for hard surface is the silhouette. Primary stage usually contains a very basic blockout of the entire model to achieve the correct proportions. The next stage is the secondary forms. This is where it varies depending on the artist and their workflow. But for me, the secondary forms for hard surface is any surface change that is built directly into the part without adding in separate smaller pieces. The third stage is the tertiary forms. This is the small details you add on at the end. Some examples would be bolts, screws, rivets, labels, and welds. Let's go ahead and add an edge loop right down the middle so we can bridge the connected polys. Press QC50 and give it a quick look over. Let's make some creasing corrections and do some shape adjustments. Once we have the basic shape looking right, we can move on to the next video where we will start adding in booleans.